Welcome to MakerFun Moments powered by Brilliant Labs. I'm Ian and I'm so glad you could join us. In our last MakerFun episode, we shared that the United Nations has created 17 Sustainable Development Goals to help make our world a better place. Today, let's consider goal number 12, Sustainable Consumption and Production. This goal encourages us to do more and better with less. It also challenges countries to think of innovative ways to make money and grow economies without causing harm or depleting our natural resources. Today, we're going to learn about manufacturing and sustainable production. We'll have fun making with fungi, which are mushrooms. We'll talk with an expert about sustainable manufacturing and what it is, and we'll make new things from old stuff around our house. Now, let's get making. Not everyone likes the taste of mushroom, but recently I learned how to turn these fungi into paper. Check this out.
Making homemade paper out of mushrooms that you've gathered yourself is a great activity. It all starts with a walk in the woods. Make sure you've got gloves and a paper bag to gather your mushrooms. You can find mushrooms in areas that are damp and have lots of nutrients in the soil, such as fallen leaves, moss, bark, and roots. Mushrooms are made with chitin, which is similar to cellulose, the main ingredient in wood-based paper. Chitin is also found in shrimp shells. To make homemade paper, I'm going to need some supplies. I have pre-soaked recycled paper in water so that when I tear it up, it's nice and fibrous. This will make it easy to blend in the blender later on. These fibers are necessary to help keep the paper together, since the mushrooms that we've gathered are the soft kind and don't have their own fibers. I'll also need some sort of blender. This is an immersion blender, but you can use a regular kitchen blender. Don't use this blender for mushrooms and for food that you're going to be eating though. Mushrooms are not edible. We'll also need some hand towels, a couple of sponges, and, of course, the mushrooms you've gathered. Make sure to put on gloves to protect your hands. These are the mushrooms that I gathered. Since I'm not an expert at identifying wild mushrooms, I'm treating every mushroom as though it's a poisonous mushroom. I'm adding hot water to the mushrooms to kill any teeny bugs living in them. These are the ones that I found look most pink in color. I also collected mushrooms that look yellow and very dark brown. You don't have to divide your mushrooms up by color, but if you do, you'll get slightly different colors of paper in the end. If you get these types of mushrooms, called polypores, you'll have to soak them in water for a long time so that they're soft enough to blend. Right now, they're really hard. These mushrooms are fresh and really soft. When you're ready to get started, choose one of your colors of mushrooms and start squishing it. This just helps get the blender started. Once your mushrooms are ready, you can put them in the blender cup. Make sure you add some of that soaking wet paper as well. And plenty of water in the blender. The amounts don't have to be precise. Now blend. Make sure it's mixed well and really smooth. Add more water if you need to. Once your mushroom smoothie is done, you're going to need a basin. This basin has to be bigger than your screen frame. I made my screen frame using a wooden 8x10 frame. I took the glass out of it and used a staple gun to staple in some screen from a screen door. Dump in your mushroom fibers and then add some water so that the fibers can float around freely. When you have a nice mixture and the fibers are suspended throughout the water, you can sink in your screen frame. Spread the floating fibers out over the screen and let it drain off. A lot of water will drip from the bottom. Then move to the towel and let it absorb some of the excess water from the back of the paper. Put down a hand towel and flip your paper over so that the screen is on top. Use your sponge to absorb the excess water from the back. As it dries, the paper will move off from the screen and onto the hand towel. It may take a bit of fiddling. I find that tapping helps. And now this paper is ready to dry out. Once it's dried a bit, you can iron it to keep it very flat. You can use the same basin to make another sheet of paper. The thickness of your paper depends on how much mushroom fiber you get on top of the screen. The fiber can also be used as a sort of modeling clay. If you have a paper fail or you've run out of materials, you can gather up the fiber and mold it. It will harden when it eventually dries out. Have fun making homemade paper, and just imagine, what else from nature can you use to make your own stuff?
Now, let's talk with an expert about manufacturing and the importance of sustainability.
First off, can I get you to tell me your full name and your job title and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Helen Yun Chen, and I am an designer and educator based in Brooklyn, New York, here in the United States.
Can you tell me a little bit about the art that has been made using the biomaterials? Oh, and can you please just define biomaterials?
My definition of biomaterials is basically materials that created through biological processes from an organism. So that's where, there's also a bit of a Venn diagram between the two, such as with mycelium, but that's where like the mycelium from mushrooms as a biomaterial, it comes from the process of it expanding as a root system, and then eventually what happens is we have to kill it to create that material in the oven oftentimes. And another really interesting biomaterial that I would put in the space of living materials is SCOBY. So SCOBY is this like blubbery, like basically block of bacteria that is what's used to create kombucha, which is a very delicious drink. But you can actually take that material as it grows and dry it out and create like a leather-like material out of it.
Awesome. And what do you do with SCOBY? Like you told me it's a rubbery thing. Do you use the SCOBY for rubber?
Yeah, so let me actually, I have a little binder of like materials I've made and collected, so I can kind of
awesome
try to show this. But these are like some samples of different like SCOBY, which is also, so another term for SCOBY is bacterial cellulose. So for these SCOBYs, when I've dried them out, what I've experimented with is kind of taking different levels of thickness as well as like drying methods. And what I've also tried to do is, so if you grow the SCOBY, so how kombucha works is you make this like tea solution. So you can use green tea or black tea are the two typical bases, and you add sugar. And then you put the SCOBY in it, and it goes through a process of fermentation where it feeds off of primarily the sugars, but the tea is also an activator. So what that does is it creates this bubbly effect, which is why kombucha has kind of this like carbonated feel when you drink, as well as there's a sourness to it because the fermentation process is similar to how you make vinegar. So with that said, I wanted to explore the material properties of dried SCOBY. So I also input like different, like not dyes, but tea types to color it. So for example, like hibiscus creates a more pink effect.
Me personally, I just wonder about resin, whether like tree resin or something like that, or whether we can use some kind of, you know, how ducks have waterproof backs because of the structure of their feathers. And so I'm wondering if we can mold the kombucha into some sort of structure like feathers. That would help that be sort of, we need to make it, or, you know, even just spraying it with that hydrophobic spray. And what does hydrophobic mean?
So hydrophobic materials means that it is a material that expels water. So what it means is that it is essentially waterproof.
Interested to hear another perspective of the design process, maybe something that starts with art and imagination, or starts with the practicality of human use, or design that's based on natural processes instead of human uses. So give me some of your input on design for me, please.
It's the process by which you get going from an existing state to a desired state. So that's very open-ended. But what I love about that is that the field of design, I think similar to the different fields of science studies, is that there is kind of like a baseline methodology, right? Almost like there's the scientific method in science that you always go through, but the possibilities and the applications are endless. And with design, it's similar to what you described. That process exists, I think, for like whether it's graphic design or industrial design or design engineering, which is problem definition, exploration, prototyping, iterating to with users or with the systems to see like what are the feedbacks, what can I improve, etc.
We have an episode called Communities of the Future, and it's human-centric. We're talking about, it would be city of the future, but we wanted to include rural populations. Can you please briefly talk about the city as a biome or a biosphere, where we've got sort of like infrastructure as the bones and the veins, and then we've also got like different living things in the city. That's like really cool. Can you apply that to, say, maybe the word community?
So I think the importance of thinking about cities and spaces as biomes is related to this community idea, because we have to think about how each activity and output that we have as a single organism of the human, or as like a collective community, for example, your neighborhood, has a rippling effect to other things around us. But I also think that you know, so that's where the sense of community is really important, to think about how we're all interconnected, right?
What advice would you give a young person who wants to make the world a better place?
To summarize, never too late. Be open to exploring other fields. Don't be afraid that you're like not experienced enough to try something, and always collaborate.
Using materials more than once is a good thing. What can you find around your home that you can use more than once? Think about it and watch this.
What we're going to design, what's our end goal today?
Well, to get like a stool, as you saw in the camera, it's this one that we want to get. So like a little seat, and we've got all the lamps here.
Interesting. And so that's all been measured from a skateboard that you found to repurpose?
This one.
Cool. Perfect. Well, I think we have plenty of information. So
Yes.
why is it that we're going to use Tinkercad?
Quite easy to get used to. We can also add loads of dimensions. We can stretch it out. We can make it thinner.
So is it your goal today to start to remodel that depth of the skateboard that you have in Tinkercad so that you have a full-size comparison?
Yeah.
And then you measure that, you put a strip across, then you can draw a line, then you can look at it and go, am I happy with those proportions before we cut it? So instead of drawing and marking on that, you can use the tape. You can't get the stickiness off it usually. And that tape you can just tear it right under it. If it's actually, was it 45?
I think it was 46.
47.
47. Does that come off the CAD drawing?
Yeah, 47.99.
Okay, yeah, that's almost 48. But you're right. But then the pencil line is about 1 millimetre. So that's your line. We usually mark it by doing thing each way. Now you can use a rule to take it up to the end.
Yep.
And see if you like it, and then put tape on that as well.
Like that up to here.
Yeah. Put the name mark on you. They did it before.
No, I think it was.
Called the outer space.
Yeah.
Is that? So this is a moment to look and see if you're happy with that look.
Yeah, it looks quite nice.
There you go. So when you're sawing it, you know this is the bit that doesn't matter. So,
Should we clamp it in?
you know what? Clamp and cut it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get you some clamps and saw. Score a line on it. But you've got to do this really carefully because it can easily drift off. So we need to hold it. And then this is a trust exercise. I need to trust you not to cut me. And
Did that, Alex?
Yes.
so hold on. Before you do it, make sure this is lined up on the pencil line. Exactly on the line. You can do it more than once. You can do the first line really nice and gentle. Mind your fingers when you get to them. Go all the way along. And then do it again a few times.
Yeah, pointing it inwards.
Nice and flat along the blade, along the rule. Do it a few times.
Yeah.
And then when we'll start cutting with the tape on.
Huh?
But inevitably the tape will fall off. And then we should have a score line underneath. When you cut it, you want to be able to cut it all the way along and not. So you want to have this. So if you can do it just about there, then I can get one here. With no work. So just start slowly. Remember where you want to start, so... Right, I'm going to hold it in there. Nice and slow at the end, remember. Wow!
There we go.
Nice.
Well done.
Show that to the camera.
It's a little bit high. Oh, no, it's all.
The
Yeah, you'll find it's natural.
well, that's the concept.
That was fun. Now, let's learn about upcycling and how it's fun to make something new from old rope or yarn. had fun making with us today. I know I did. What was your favorite part? Did you make along with us? Well, we want to see your MakerFun project. Show it to us. Visit brilliantlabs.ca to learn how. And remember, stay brilliant, and we'll see you next time.